Hello everyone, this is Mr. Informal bringing you another thoughts, analysis, and rant. Yes, another one of these. So, my previous phone was the ASUS Zenfone 9 in color red, 128 gig with 8 gigs of RAM. Bought it last year during Black Friday and stopped using it, and now I have a Galaxy S23. The S23 I think may go down as one of the best top 5 Samsung devices, could be top 10, but certainly better than the S22 and S21. But going back to the ASUS Zenfone series, I definitely have the credibility and integrity to speak about my thoughts, analysis, and rant of the Zenfone 10. So, let me give you my thoughts right now. What do I think of the Zenfone 10 by ASUS? Don't get it. If you have a ASUS Zenfone 9, don't even get it. Don't even upgrade it. Maybe upgrade it to Zenfone 11. Because honestly, there's really not much upgrade to this other than the new CPU. Also, there are drawbacks on the Zenfone 10, which I cannot believe, and I certainly cannot believe even to this day. So, save yourself some money and just keep the Zenfone 10. If you even like the Zenfone, if you don't even have a Zenfone, wait for the Zenfone 10 to be on sale, or you know what, just get the Zenfone 9. Whichever you want to deal with your money. So those are my thoughts. In any case, we still have to talk about the Zenfone 10 specs. So keeping with the 5.92 inch screen, 1080, 2400 pixels, that's basically 445 pixel per inch density. It has a dual physical SIM, just like the Zenfone 9. How do I know? I had the Zenfone 9 and it was dual physical SIM. I was able to use it. Also, it has 5G, of course, IP68 dust and water resistant, 144 hertz, but you can only use that refresh rate during gaming. Everything else, it will maintain the 120 hertz. It has obviously AMOLED. That's why it has always on display. Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 with octa-core with GPU Adreno 740. No micro SD card. It still has 128 gig, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs with 8 gigs of RAM, and 256 with 16 gigs of RAM, and 512 with 16 gigs of RAM. That doesn't make sense. Why would you have 256 with 8 gigs of RAM and then 256 with 16 gigs of RAM? We'll talk about that later. Now, the main camera, 50 megapixels f1.9, it has a updated gimbal OIS, also has EIS, face detection, autofocus, 13 megapixels f2.2 with ultra wide. It does not have autofocus. The Zenfone 9 has the ultra wide autofocus. That doesn't make sense, but we'll get to that later. It can shoot 8K 24 frames per second, 4K 30 and 60, 1080 3060 with gyro EIS and HDR. The selfie camera is 32 megapixel f2.5 without autofocus. The Zenfone 9 had a selfie autofocus. It can shoot 1080p 30 frames per second. It has a dual stereo speaker. It maintains the headphone jack. Yes. Too bad they could have upgraded it with a better DAC, but it comes with 24-bit. Wi-Fi 6 and 7, Bluetooth 5.3. It has GPS, NFC. It finally has a wireless charge. Yes, it does. It has a side-mounted fingerprint. It still has, and I can't believe this still has it, a USB 2.0 with a USB-C connector. It has a 43 milliamps of battery, and colors will come Starry Blue, Midnight Black, Aurora Green, Eclipse Red, and Comet White. Very cosmic colors basically, and it will be priced around $950, or depending on wherever you are, it could reach $1,000 in the world. So those are the specs. Let's get into the analysis. This will not move market. This will not be a money maker for ASUS, because I mean they didn't really upgrade the Zenfone series. You might as well buy the Zenfone 9. Will it give ASUS notice? The only notice that they will be given is that it is the most compact flagship top of the line phone out there for such a small size. That's the only thing, and that's what I like about my Zenfone 9. What killed me about my Zenfone 9 was the camera, but that's a whole different issue. In any case, in terms of people, are people going to give up their S23 to the Zenfone 9? I mean Zenfone 10? No. Are people going to move their iPhone mini to the Zenfone 10? Probably not. I mean, you never know. Also, are people going to suddenly change their phone to a Zenfone? No, of course not. The general public is not going to know about this phone. The general public is not going to buy this phone. It's not even available to your local carriers. And if it is, it's going to be hard for them to find a screen protector, accessories. I mean, also, there's not a lot of third-party support out there. It's going to be very tough. I don't think ASUS done enough for this phone for the general public to notice it. They did with the Zenfone 9, but the Zenfone 10, I don't know about this one. On to the rant. Thoughts, analysis, and rant. So first and foremost, why even market 144 Hz when you can only use that refresh rate on gaming mode? Once you get out of the gaming mode, it goes back to 120 refresh Hertz. Now, what I did like about the Zenfone 9, it gave you options. You can either maintain 60, 90, which I kept at 90, and 120. And when I kept it at 90, it was smooth and the battery life was great. But why even market 144? Also, it still has the 128 gigs with 8 gigs of RAM. Just remove it and just put it on 256 8 gigs of RAM. There's no point of 128, especially with the 50 megapixels when you're shooting a video, when you're recording video with gimbal OIS. That 8K or that 4K is gonna eat away that storage. So, but if you are going to buy a Zenfone 10, don't even get 128 gigs. The USB-C speed, it's still USB 2.0. Why not 3.0? Why not 3.1? Why not 3.2? Why do you still use a 2.0 speed? I don't understand it. Now, let's talk about the camera. When I was using the Zenfone 9, I was not happy with the camera. Before the Zenfone 9, I was using the Note 9. Samsung Note 9. And the Samsung's Note 9, it was basically a 4-year-old phone. And you're telling me that the Note 9 had a better picture, better camera than the Zenfone 9? Unbelievable. And this one, I cannot believe they took out the autofocus on the ultra-wide lens and the selfie lens. I'm sorry, they took out the autofocus on the ultra-wide camera and the selfie camera. They only kept the autofocus mechanism on the main 50 megapixel camera on the Zenfone 10. Unbelievable. Now, don't get me wrong, based on the review, the picture looks better than the Zenfone 9, but I still think Samsung is just better at taking pictures than ASUS. Heck, even Sony pictures are better than the Zenfone series, even though they use the same what do you call that? I wouldn't say CPU, but the sensor, same sensor, the Sony sensors. And then, last but not least, is why even release a phone, ASUS, if it's only going to be marginally upgraded? I'm sorry, minor upgrades. Why? If you are going to release this Zenfone 10, make it better. Make it an actual upgrade compared to the Zenfone 9. But this is a drawback. It's like plus or minus here. And this is why, during my thoughts, is that if you're going to get a Zenfone 10, don't even bother. Just get the Zenfone 9. And if you have a Zenfone 9, don't even upgrade to this. If you have an S22, S23, don't even upgrade to this. Don't even move to this. I mean, if you really want this phone, just wait for it to go on sale. It will go on sale. It's probably gonna go down to $600 or $500. And so that basically concludes this thoughts, analysis, and rant of the ASUS Zenfone 10. Ah man, after using the Zenfone 9, now I know why I moved to the S23. It's absolutely pretty disappointing that the ASUS Zenfone 10 actually had to be this way. I mean, it could have been a major upgrade. But I guess it's not. In any case, hopefully you enjoyed this thoughts, analysis, and rant of the ASUS Zenfone 10. And so I will see you on the next thoughts, analysis, and rant. Bye-bye.